the incarnation of the ink. I have spent years as a scholar of the shadows, hoarding wisdom like a dragon hoards gold, yet starving to death on top of the pile. I treated the Bible and all the great texts as shiny traps for the intellect, believing that memorizing verses, analyzing Greek, and mastering theological double talk made me holy and awake. However, I came to realize I was merely a librarian of the divine, standing at the gates of the hustle, selling tickets to a journey I refused to take. This led to the terrifying realization that to read the truth without living it is the ultimate act of spiritual cowardice. It is to stand before the ground of stone and refuse to step onto it. My awakening began with a harsh, necessary slap of the Stoics. Epictetus mocked men like me, saying, "Sheep do not vomit up their grass to show the shepherds how much they have eaten, but inwardly digesting their food, they outwardly produce wool and milk." I was vomiting up verses, showing the world my knowledge, but producing no wool. I was cold, naked, and judgmental. I realized that a Bible on the shelf is just paper and ink. It is dead matter. It only becomes the logos, the living word, when it is digested and metabolized into action. Plato deepened this conviction by teaching that the text is merely a shadow on the wall of the cave. The words "love your neighbor" are symbols and pointers. If I stare at the words, analyzing their font and syntax, I remain in the dark. To live it is to turn away from the shadow and walk into the blinding sun of the act itself. To actually love the neighbor, the smelly, inconvenient, messy neighbor in the pit of despair, is to touch the form of the good. Reading is the map, living is the territory. I had mistaken the map for the mountain. This transition from reader to walker requires a Kantian revolution of the will. Immanuel Kant argued that we cannot know the thing in itself through pure intellect, but we can access the realm of freedom through moral duty. The Bible is not a suggestion, it is a categorical imperative. When I read, "Do not bear false witness," it is not a philosophical proposition to be debated in a country club. It is a command to be honest when the assholes and vampires are threatening my livelihood. To live it is to align my will with the universal law, regardless of the cost. It is to treat the scriptures not as a scam to control others, but as a law I legislate for myself. The Neoplatonists provided the final piece of the puzzle. Plotinus spoke of the flight of the alone to the alone, teaching that the soul must be sculpted like a statue. Reading provides the vision of the statue, but living is the chisel. Every act of forgiveness, every rejection of the carnal, every moment I stand with fortitude against the horses of the devil's minions, I am chipping away the marble of the false self. I have stopped trying to prove I am right and using the book as a weapon. I am trying, with every flawed, stumbling step, to become a living epistle. I want the ink to become blood. I want the paper to become flesh. Because in the end, the only Bible the world will ever read is me. Zerga, in synthesis with the philosophers.